Yeah, it was for basketball, it was extraordinary. It was the best and most competitive men's Olympic tournament in the history of the Olympic Games. The women's tournament as well. We had two very close games on the men's side and the women's side, and just shows that the rest of the world, we used to say, is catching up, but they've caught up, and we're going to have to, make sure we're staying ahead of the curve and addressing what we need to address to stay on top of the podium. But it was a fantastic experience. Paris, we had great interest from all our athletes. Family members joined. We created a great sense of community in our hotel situation, and it was just it was an extraordinary experience.
USA Basketball has published the ultimate playbook for coaches from the youth to elite levels. The USA Basketball Coaching Guide for all levels is available in paperback or as an ebook. It is a resource for all who participate in the game of basketball. To discuss it, we have the pleasure in welcoming Jim Tooley, CEO of USA Basketball, onto Hoopsology. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Justin. Good to be here.
Thanks for coming on to the show. Really appreciate it. Before we delve into the book, we have a bit of a tradition on our show. We delve into the hottest topics of basketball, but we cover basketball culture, what makes the game of basketball so great, and with our guests, when did they first connect with the game? So I want to ask you, take this question any way you want it. What is your first or favorite basketball memory?
Uh, Growing up as a kid, I played in a church league. I played for my middle school, played for a boys club. Um, got the opportunity at a very young age to get engaged with the sport, and it's been a lifelong journey for me.
So with this book, I find it truly fascinating just because with Team USA, I'm thinking these are the greatest minds in probably the history of basketball, just in terms of how much knowledge they're able to bestow to all the participants, all levels of play over the years. So for creating this resource, what was kind of the game plan into compiling all this knowledge into one book?
Well, it took quite some time. We started our youth division back in 2013. Before that, we were just focusing on elite level national teams, the 1% of the 1%. And then we said we really need to get engaged with the other 99%, really. So we created a lot of resources. We created youth guidelines on how to, the cadence of practice and playing games. And we worked with the NBA on that document. And then this book was a passion project of some of our staff. Andrea Travelstead certainly led the efforts, and we got a lot of basketball minds together at every level of the sport, and put this together to help be a resource for coaches, players, parents, and we've received really good response from it here in the last several weeks.
If you don't mind, what has been their responses, just in terms of this book helping their own coaching?
Yeah, it's kind of a one-stop shopping, if you will. The levels that the book goes into, there's an introductory level, there's a foundational level, there's an advanced level, and then there's really a high performance level. And so it kind of captures where everybody might be in the sport. And what I like about it, a lot of resources talk about age appropriate or grade appropriate. This is based on how you do in a progressive manner. A first grader could be, dribbling as well as a third grader, perhaps. So it's not tied to the age or grade. So it's again based on how you progress in the various drills and learning of the game.
So it's based on skill level, more than age. Uh,
Correct.
where do you see that this book in terms of filling in the kind of gaps that you might see in terms of coaching, just on all levels? And what kind of things have like you noticed and your colleagues have noticed, just in terms of where the game is going and how this book tends to fit into that in terms of highlighting kind of the strengths that's happening now, or maybe highlighting just kind of fixing some of the pain points that might be happening in the game nowadays.
Well, we've had various resources. We've had a lot of instructional videos, but there really wasn't the Bible, if you will, that people can refer to, where it's kind of one-step shopping. We're very fortunate in this country that basketball is a very popular sport. There's a lot of resources out there, but we think this book is one is tangible that people can go to and use again at all levels of the game. That's, helping to coach the coaches, coach the players, and again, have some sort of consistency and continuity in the teaching of the game.
Well, it's interesting now because as nowadays the game, there's different ways of playing it more on a professional level. With all these leagues popping up, international becoming a lot more
Mhm.
popular. I'm just curious, just in terms of kind of the right rule set to play the game. How kind of is there a difficulty with that in terms of laying out kind of a clear path that's adaptable for a child that might start as a first grader and then they might play at the high school level and all of a sudden they might play overseas or they might play in a 3x3 league. Is there kind of like a blueprint that they can always follow despite maybe the rules slightly changing depending on when they get older in terms of taking kind of their professional career to the next level?
Yeah, well, this book focuses on the individual skill development, doesn't really address the various rules that happen, whether it's 3x3, whether you're playing the international game, the NBA game, or the NCAA game, or high school game. We're the only country that has really three sets of playing rules. We have high school rules, college rules, and NBA rules. Most of the rest of the world, if not all, play under one set of rules, which are FIBA's rules, which are the rules that we play in the World Cups and the Olympic Games. So, this focuses on the skill of the game, not necessarily the various rules. These the skills that you learn from imparting what's in the book is adaptable to any rules of the game.
So that's interesting. You mentioned that you mentioned that in this country we have three sets of rules. Do you think it would just be easier not only for the players participating in basketball, but also just the viewers at home who enjoy the game having one set of rules throughout, or do you think it should stay as it is? I just find it because for myself, just as a basketball consumer, I really enjoy the Olympics. I just enjoy the FIBA rules.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering what do you think in terms of kind of the game overall, the best interest of just kind of basketball? Do you think it should adapt FIBA rules? I was curious.
They're getting more closely aligned. Okay, the NBA game and the FIBA game, the NCAA game. We've been trying for 2 decades to get them closer and closer. So we're making good progress there. But if you look at just like the NCAA, the men's game is a 20-minute half. The women's game is 10-minute quarters. FIBA's 10-minute quarters. So little nuances like that. It would be nice if that was all consistent. The number of timeouts. FIBA has 5 timeouts, 2 in the first, 3 in the second half. That shortens the game. But, here there's a focus on the commercialization of the game and the sport. And so you need more timeouts maybe to appease the sponsors and the things that go into the business side. So those are the variables that I'm not sure we ever fully align on, but we're getting much closer in the actual games. And I know the NBA and their rules committee takes a look at the FIBA game and vice versa, and has a good collaboration there. So I'm optimistic that we'll keep getting closer to the similar rule sets.
So, what do the players prefer when they're participating is in international play? Do you find they enjoy it? Do they kind of express, "Hey, we should have
Oh yeah.
this more in the regular game that we play on a yearly basis"? What is kind of doing?
Yep. One of the rules in FIBA is when the ball touches the rim, you're allowed to swipe it off, right? And that's I think it has been or will continue to be looked at by the NBA. That's an exciting rule. So on a free throw, when someone goes up and the ball just gets to them, you can swipe it off. We have a lot of interest on the men's side, more so than the women, obviously. That's a great rule to adapt, and the 40-minute game versus a 48-minute game or in high school too. I think 40 minutes is the right amount of time for the game. So we've heard everything. We hear the ball is a little bit different. In FIBA, the ball is a 12-panel ball instead of an 8-panel ball. And so has a little bit different feel to it. So what we try to do with our athletes before they come to camp is send them balls so that they can get prepared and used to it before they come in and play for us in a competition.
So I want to transition and
Yep.
to the Paris Olympics. And just as a viewer myself, we had the pleasure of interviewing Noah Eagle before he went over there to commentate on it. And I just thought it was a fantastic experience, both men's and women's, and 3x3 as well. Just kind of your thoughts on, last year's Olympics and just that entire environment. I just found it incredible for the game of basketball.
Yeah, it was for basketball, it was extraordinary. It was the best and most competitive men's Olympic tournament in the history of the Olympic Games. The women's tournament as well. We had two very close games on the men's side and the women's side, and just shows that the rest of the world, we used to say, is catching up, but they've caught up. And we're going to have to, make sure we're staying ahead of the curve and and addressing what we need to address to stay on top of the podium. But it was a fantastic experience. Paris, we had great interest from all our athletes, family members joined. We created a great sense of community in our hotel situation, and it was just it was an extraordinary experience.
At the best of your ability with this past experience, do you think that's going to change how players, really? I guess that in the past, there's been different players that have declined and accepted, but I
Mhm.
think with this experience, especially just this, I think this Olympic Games, which is so impactful, just in terms
Mhm.
of how the world's caught up in the competition. Do you think this will get more players to be more inclined to accept the invites to play internationally, or do you think that's always going to be kind of the same, no matter how the competition is?
Well, I think the Olympic Games is a draw for all of our top athletes. And I think the way Paris worked out and the close games that we had um, was a motivation to people that, yeah, I want to be there. I want to represent my country. It's not easy anymore. It's really not, but it's really fulfilling to have the opportunity. And now in LA 28, have that on home soil. I think it'll be a very well received by the athletes to join and participate. What happened in Paris when we won the gold medal, it was joy. Sometimes it's relief because you're expected. And those are two really different emotions and feelings. And I think everybody recognized it in their own way. And it was a great feeling, great feeling. And I think that helps spur the interest, and that was infectious around the leagues that are involved in where players come from for. So I think good things lie ahead in terms of participation of the top athletes.
I want to get your opinion on 3x3 if you don't mind. Where do you think the future of that lies? Because I think it's a cool form of just the game. You've seen on Rival kind of adapt that as
Yeah.
well. The Big Three, they have used that format. I'm just curious, what is kind of the future of that? I mean, even on an international level, I interviewed Kyle Montgomery years ago, the commentator for 3x3, and it seems an exciting format, and I think would do well. In this country, just in terms of another format. I'm just curious, what do you think that the future of that game is?
I'm very bullish on it. I love the 3x3 game. I love specifically the FIBA 3x3 rules. I think the game played in that setting format is the right way. There are different variations of that in our country. We would like to see that everybody adopt the FIBA rule, because FIBA platform and rules, because it's really an exciting brand of basketball. When FIBA started this initiative, this goes back to the 2006, 7, with my earliest memories of being involved on a commission that FIBA was studying this. It was kind of basketball's reaction to, beach volley got joined the Olympics in 1996. It was kind of basketball's version of that, a 3x3. Now you saw that in rugby. Now you have the rugby sevens. You're going to see that in flag football. Um, so what's amazing about 3x3 is that it really has gotten the sport in parts of the world that it would not otherwise be. You see Mongolia having success. Um, Hungry on the women's side. It's just an equalizer. You need four players instead of a roster of 12. That makes it more competitive, where teams can compete with one another. It's more affordable for countries. And then the rules of the game themselves, it's only a 10-minute game. Anything can happen in that. So it's not, there's no game that's a foregone conclusion. And that's what makes it a really exciting brand. We are working very hard to build our ecosystem of 3x3. We would the NAIA, the collegiate organization, has adopted 3x3 and will have that as part of their offering of sports in their organization. We'd love to see other sports, whether it's the NJCAA, the junior college, or the NCAA, adopt that to offer it. You see scholarships in beach volleyball now, so we would like to see that because that will help increase the ecosystem. A little bit of a challenge there is that the 5x5 basketball ecosystem is so lucrative. The business behind it is extraordinary. So everybody playing the game sees NIL opportunities, whether in high school or college, and then certainly the professional level in this country is paying extraordinary money. So it's hard to persuade somebody, hey, get in on this track of the sport when this one is so lucrative. And while it only applies to a really small percentage of people that get to enjoy that lucrativeness, if you will, it doesn't. Most people still want to be a part of it. You can't tell someone no, you're not good enough to succeed there. So that's a balancing act that we have to do to try to identify the players that will make up a great 3x3 team.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the future for that variation of sport is definitely bright. Final
Yeah.
question for you.
Yeah.
Looking towards 2028 in Los Angeles in this international competition moving forward. Just curious if you can kind of run down just kind of the philosophy in creating the team. So starting, Paris a great moment, but yeah, you got to keep, their train keeps moving to other
Mhm.
competitions. So just curious kind of what the mindset is in, for the men's and women's game. Like if you can take our listeners and viewers through this with the process of this constructing the roster as well, in terms of getting younger players, established players, and just how that works in terms of creating that final roster for Los Angeles 2028.
Well, we have a great development system and pipeline here in the United States. So we're able to see the players play for us, whether they come in high school or college, whether they play on the U16, 17s, 18, 19s. That gives us a good feel for the players. We have a junior national team program for both men and women that sees the young players rising up and gets them indoctrinated into our system, learns the international game, the style of play at a younger age. So that's all taken into account. And then on the men's side, we have Grant Hill, who's our managing director, and he starts putting the different pieces to the puzzle together, which will probably start in early 26, about identifying the coaching staffs, and then start looking at the list of players that are going to make sense for us. And we'll do something similar on the women's side as well. But what really helps for us is having this great pipeline of athletes to come through and be a part of it. So you'll know early on if this kind of player is going to be adaptable to the international game, whether he or she enjoys the experience, because it's different than playing in this country. Some of the international competitions we go to, they're in places around the world that you might not think of going, and it's different, and understanding different cultures. So we spend a lot of time on that pipeline and trying to identify and provide opportunities to the athletes to get a flavor of what it would be like representing their country.
Jim, appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can you let our
Thanks.
audience know where you're on social media or any other projects or any other competitions or things that basketball fans should be looking forward to if they want to get more of USA basketball?
Well, I'd like to, tell everybody where they can go and get this guidebook, which is usab.com/guidebook. It's also available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and really looking forward to people taking that in as a resource.
Fantastic. Appreciate it, Jim. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you, Justin. Thank you.